You ready to do this, Matt?
Yes, sir. Punch it, Chewie.
Welcome, super friends, to the Fortress of Nerditude podcast, a safe place to talk about all things in nerd and pop culture. I'm Spencer Stapleton, and my co-pilot is Matt Shaw. We're two nerds that just refuse to grow up. Thank you for joining us. This is episode 170. We release every Thursday morning. You can find us on the website, forthenerd.com. We have links to iTunes, Google Music, Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, and everywhere podcasts are available. Stop by and relax a while. If you like what you're hearing, hit that subscribe button and get us automatically each and every week in your ear holes. Matt, how are you tonight?
I am just fine tonight. I am neither amazing nor am I bad. I'm just doing just fine.
I hate you already, but go ahead. No, tell me
just
about how you're fine.
Doing just fine. There's, not a lot of highs, not a lot of lows this last week. Actually, it was a good week. Today I'm fine. Last week was good for business, at least. It was slow, and when you're self-employed, it's like, okay, can't really have that much slowness because I depend on this money to pay all of the things that I need to pay. And then this last week was good. We signed up 2 new clients, which was a huge, I can breathe again. I don't have to worry about paying myself, I can actually do that. So that was nice. It was a big, we've been praying for that for really almost 2 months now for us to get some new blood in the work. So that was great. We had a great week for our business. So that's happy.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. And the rest of the week was honestly kind of whatever-ish. We didn't do a whole lot this week. We're really tired. We're trying to sleep train Lando, and it's just exhausting. We're getting very limited sleep. So we just don't have we were like, let's go to SeaWorld on Saturday. There's like a new roller coaster, and we're like, well, let's go to the opening of it. And then we just didn't have the ability to chase 2 kids. We just didn't want to do it. So it was a chill weekend and a pretty chill week. We watched another episode of Lock and Key. We're slowly chipping away through that, which we really like that show. It's good. It's a little scary, but really good. And then
I haven't started it yet.
Give it a try. It's fun. It's a fun one.
I think I will eventually. I got to finish a couple other things.
There's so many other things to watch. It's like, I can't. Anyway, I did play a little bit of The Last of Us this weekend.
Ooh, I love it.
Slowly chipping my way through that. Here's what I've realized.
Yeah.
I'm not good at these stealth kind of games. I just want to run around and go crazy. And,
which you can.
Oh, I have learned that it is possible. And there was one where it was just like, I don't know how to beat this stealth. So I have to go in guns ablazing and like pipes with scissors on them because I don't know what else to do here. Anyway, so you kill, then run, and then kill, and then run. Anyway, it was a lot of fun. That game is fun just because I enjoy that there's different ways that I can approach the next room or the next task, because it's like sometimes I'm like, I don't have the time for this shiz. I'm going to go blasting these guys. Even if I die 8 times, I will.
How far into the game are you?
I don't know.
Okay, what's kind of going on in
Tess
the story?
just died.
Okay, you're pretty early on.
So she just died. So it's just me and Ellie, and that's it.
Yep. Yeah.
We're about to get to some crazy guy. That's where we're at. We're about to get to some crazy guy.
You're going to see. I think his name is Bill.
Yes.
We're
real close.
You're maybe like a quarter of the way through the game.
Okay.
So you've got a lot of good games still ahead of you. I will tell you that there is a part. So I played this game to try to get the platinum for it. And I did everything for the game and then realized there's an online component. So you have to play like these online matches. And that's kind of where I got hung up. But I had to play through on like the hardest mode, which you can only unlock after you beat the game. It's called Grounded. And there's this part where I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get through this, because I was trying to be stealthy and sneak and do this and do that. And then eventually I was like, okay, let me look up and see, because people have obviously done this.
Right.
And I'm like, and this game has been, there's people that have speed run this game.
Yeah.
They like beat the game in like barely over 5 hours. So I was like, okay, they're speed running it on the hardest mode. So I looked it up and I went, oh, I literally just jump over this little wall and just run, and then jump over any barriers, run through the doors, and just keep going until I get to this point where I know a cutscene will trigger.
Yeah.
And I gain a whole bunch of attention, but as soon as I cross through this threshold,
You're
and
fine.
this door closes, cutscene triggers, everything else that happened prior in the level is just over. And I was like, what the crap? It took me literally like 5 seconds to get past the whole level. I was like, dang it. So.
Yeah, that's my only complaint with the game so far is sometimes they don't give me enough to know what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
Sometimes I need like a little bit of a cue, and for me there's not always a good enough cue. I end up swimming around like in this one water part forever because I couldn't figure out what the heck I was supposed to do next. So anyway, so I played some of that, which was fun. I enjoyed it. And then the big event this week was college basketball. BYU got ranked, and they played Gonzaga, which is a big game, and ended up winning. And that was big time for those that like sports.
So sports ball.
It was quite fun to watch. It was the highlight of my week. So anyway, yeah, it's fun. NCAA tournaments coming up. Everybody's got to love March Madness, at least a little bit. March Madness is top sporting event all time, any sport. It's amazing, in my opinion.
Wrong.
Better than Christmas Day is when I can stay home Thursday and Friday that weekend and just eat food and watch basketball nonstop. It's amazing.
I will take the NHL Finals or the World Series over March Madness any day of the week.
I will take a Game 7 in the NHL playoffs over anything. I think I'll agree with you there. Game 7 of the NHL playoffs are special. For those of you that, there's too many people who don't like hockey.
Honestly, like Game 7 in the Stanley Cup Finals, Game 7 in the World Series, like because it's one of those things where it's just all on the line. It's the pinnacle of that sport, like it's the highest level.
Yep.
And the drama and the tension. My problem, and this is why I won't put like the NBA Finals up there, is that like with the basketball game, they're high scoring games, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, the game ended up being like, this team beat the other team 92-90. Well, now I know I can look at that score and I can see it was a close game.
Yeah.
So it means tit for tat, like all the way through the game, it was probably really, really close, or one team pulled back to within a basket. But to me, that means like it's just back and forth. Whereas like if the game ends 2-1, you could look at it in hockey and say, or baseball and say, hey, one team got a run early, and then the other team came back and got 2 quick runs or 2 goals, and then they were playing from behind the whole rest of the game, and they were throwing everything out there every single time they went they went up to bat, or they got down ice or whatever.
Yep.
And because like their life is on the line. If they do not score to tie, it's over.
Right.
Whereas basketball, for me, you get that drama, you really do, but it's always within about the last 15 seconds of the game.
I get that. I think it's just a matter of investment in the team. When it comes to BYU sports, I'm invested every second of every game, so I feel it. However, for me, I agree with you. I don't think there's anything better for me than watching the San Jose Sharks in the Stanley Cup playoffs. There isn't anything better. So I'm going to back my NCAA March Madness and say, well, I know every year that's going to happen. However,
sure, when
I'm watching the Stanley Cup playoffs, if the Sharks aren't in it, I'm not going to feel the same amount of excitement. Anyway.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
I get it. I get it. Anyway, sorry about the sports talk, everyone. Apologize immensely. But when March Madness comes around, I will still probably be talking about this because BYU is actually going to be in it for the first time in a decade. So hallelujah.
Wow.
Yeah, about time.
Well, good for you. I'm glad that that's happening and that it gives you something to look forward to and be excited this time of year, because lately it probably
not
hasn't
often.
been that way for you. Yeah, right.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
No. But that was it, man. How was your week?
Well. Last week I told you a little story about how I had an emergency in the middle of the Sonic the Hedgehog movie and
Yes.
had to clench and power walk for my life while dragging my 5-year-old son along. And that problem's still persisting. So I think today's like day 9. I've kind of lost count.
Gosh.
I'm just wondering if I just need to accept that this is my new norm. But today I just kind of I broke down and was like, okay, we're leaving on Saturday to go to Hawaii. I do not want to continue to have this issue while I'm in Hawaii if I can help it. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go see a doctor because I gotta do something. I gotta get some tests done and see what's going on. Because if I have to do other tests, I try to do that before I go to Hawaii. So I go see the doctor this morning, which of course took 3 hours. It was ridiculous. So I'm texting the guy that works for me and assigning him work and telling him to check on things. And I'm responding to emails. And I had a meeting first thing in the morning through Skype. And so I'm just kind of I'm doing everything I can while I'm sitting in the waiting room, while I'm sitting in the doctor's office. And they come in, and of course, they ask all the questions, have you had a fever? Have you, noticed any pain? Have you had this? Have you had that? And I know what they're going to ask because, of course, I've gone on WebMD and made sure that I knew that it's probably cancer.
Right, of course. Always. Oh my gosh.
Always. But I've kind of seen some of the other things, that they're going to ask and things that I should be looking for. So I've been kind of cognizant of those things through this process. And so they did a blood draw so they could test my blood and kind of just check to see if electrolytes were okay, this, that, and the other, and making sure I'm not dehydrated. And then they wanted also to collect a sample. And of course, I've had no problem with this. No problem with probably providing a sample for 9 days. And then when I need to, I can't.
Oh, man.
I was like, you got to be kidding me. So they send me home with a little baggie.
Yep.
So I can, take this thing home and I can collect the sample when the time is right and then return it to the lab. And and of course, I'm walking out holding this thing like a purse, I have it extended as far away from my body as possible. I'm I don't want to be here. I don't want to be doing this. But the concern was, I talked to the doctor and I said, I want to try to do whatever I can to not have this when I'm in Hawaii. If I need to go see a specialist, do a colonoscopy or something, let's do this before I go. And the doctor's like, yeah, your cultures from the sample won't even be back for 3 days. So unless this resolves itself before you go, you're going to be in Hawaii with it. I was like, yeah,
dang it.
Frustrated. However, she said that it's probably still likely that it's a viral issue, but that I haven't changed my diet. And so I need to switch to the brat diet, bananas, rice, applesauce, toast. And then she also said yogurt's fine. And switch to the brat diet and then continue taking this probiotic pill I started taking over the weekend. And then she also said, go get some Imodium.
Yeah.
And so I went and got that. And so I'm trying to take that as well. And just see if I can, basically give my body a chance to reset the digestive system and then see what happens. So kind of in that world right now and waiting to see what the next day or two is going to look like.
Oh, man. How fun.
I've lost 10 pounds.
Oh, man.
So now I will say, because people are going to listen to this, Super Friends, when you hear this, don't think oh, you're going to be dehydrated. I am drinking as much water as I possibly can drink. I'm actually drinking water through this podcast right now while I'm recording. So I'm drinking tons of water. It's just that I've been watching what I've been eating. So I'm keeping my calorie count low. I'm walking a bunch. I've been like lifting some weights in my garage at nighttime. So like I'm also doing all the things that I would be doing normally, trying to get healthier and lose some weight and get stronger. This just also happens to be that I've had this other issue that basically is just, vacating as much liquid from my body as possible.
Yep.
So.
Well, that sounds like a blast.
Matt, it's a thing.
Yeah, it's a thing. I take probiotics. I'm a believer. I'm a believer. I was having some issues to spare the podcast. And I was probably like around when Lando was born, I started taking probiotics and they work great for me.
So are you still taking them or did you stop?
I don't take them as often. But I was taking them religiously for a couple months and now I still take them probably every other day. But it's just simple, like the little gummy probiotics. Just pop them in and go throughout my day, and it worked really well for me. But still have. It's funny. It's like I didn't expect to have bowel issues until I was like 50, and here I am at 31, and I'm taking Metamucil, and I'm like, give me them probiotics. But I get it, man. Stuff happens.
So I had that going on. Then over the weekend, I got the cold.
Oh, gosh.
So I'm still a little congested now, but I've been taking medicine for that, and I've got a cough, and I'm sucking on cough drops. And it's just like, why, body, why? So basically what I'm saying, Super Friends, is that I'm falling apart at the seams. I mean, this is probably going to be the last podcast I'm going to be able to record because the next week I'll probably be just a pool or a puddle of goo lying on the floor. But still, I'll probably be podcasting as a pile of goo, I guess. So
yeah, that's fine.
Maybe we got a little more in us. But yeah, I did that. We're in the 5th season of Friday Night Lights.
Oof.
Loving that. Still streaming on Twitch, sstapleton79 on Twitch. If you're interested, go give me a follow. Been streaming The Witcher 3. This week's going to be weird because I want to stream, but I'm going to need to also start prepping for the trip and packing some. So this week may be a little hit or miss on my regular schedule. And then, of course, I'm going to be gone for like a week and a half.
But still streaming full time. Don't worry, everybody.
Oh, yeah.
That's why he's going to Hawaii.
Totally. Yeah, because I need you to see the actual palm trees behind me, not the fake ones I've got, set up back here. I'm trying to think what else has been going on. Kids got haircuts, just like normal, dad type of stuff. Like, took the kids to get haircuts, did some shopping, did some cleaning, getting ready for the in-laws to come into town. This, that, and the other, basically.
Right on.
So,
right on.
That was my week. Matt, I think it's time we get to that rebel intelligence, and we're going to need to use some Bothans. What do you think we should do to them this week?
Oh, I was thinking about this, and I decided that we should boil them.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's gross, but it's easy cleanup.
I always have to let you know, many Bothans died to bring us this information.
Rest in peace, you Bothans.
Well, Matt, we're into Rebel Intelligence. It was a kind of a disgusting way to get the Rebel Intelligence this week, but I will say no calories were added to these Bothan carcasses.
Oh.
So we've got that going for us, I guess.
Yeah.
What do you got for me this week?
All right, so this week, let's start out with some Batman. The Batman news.
The Batman.
The Batman.
I feel like I should be saying that while holding my water with my pinky out. The Batman.
Don't you dare call it Batman. So we got some The Batman news, kind of news, via a leakishness.
Yep.
And that is we see the bat suit and like this bat bike thing situation going on as well. To me, this does not look like, and I think has been confirmed to not be Robert Pattinson.
Right.
Because this is his stunt double. However, it looks, I mean, this is the full getup, the full suit. It's much more of like an armored type of like, I'm going to kill you with like arm missile type suit going on here.
Yeah. To me, it feels kind of similar to the way they did the Flash's suit in Justice League, and kind of also similar to the way Daredevil's suit looked in the Netflix series.
Okay. Yeah, I see that.
And can I just say, not a fan.
I can understand that. To me, it's a little bulky. I don't hate it. There have been obviously way worse Batman suits in the franchise of Batman, in my opinion. There have been much worse.
The George Clooney one obviously stands out.
Yes, it does.
But I mean, the Michael Keaton suit, the Val Kilmer suit, I thought were great. I liked the Christian Bale suit.
Yep.
Fine enough. I mean, it necessarily wasn't like my favorite, but like I liked it well enough.
Yep.
The Ben Affleck one,
I don't love that one.
I don't love it, but it's okay.
There was one. What was the one with like the glowing eyes? And I just not a fan. Not a fan of the Ben Affleck.
Are you talking about the Christian Bale one with the sonar, where his eyes like light up blue?
No, maybe there was one that was like. Wait. What was the one in Batman versus Superman?
That's actually like a weird, like a trippy
variant
Superman
or something.
Dream. Yeah.
Because this one, to me, that one is like obviously super industrial.
Yeah.
And this one is almost, to me, similar to that in its industrial nature. Like, it seems like it's armor, like real, like, I don't know. I don't love it either.
Yeah.
I don't hate it. It's not terrible, but I don't love it. And I don't know. I like the belt. I'm into the fact that we've got the belt with all the gadgets.
You know what also I noticed was lacking in this, even though like we see the bat ears on the suit.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a cape.
Nope. I'm just looking at it now as well, and I'm flipping through this. I'm like, what the heck? How do you have Batman without a cape?
That's exactly right. If you have Batman without a cape, you don't have Batman.
No. That sucks. Okay, I've changed my opinion. It sucks. There's no freaking cape. You're right. Well, you heard it here first. No cape on the scene where it's wet and he's on a motorcycle, unless it's added in post, which would be really stupid.
Yeah, or, oh gosh.
Maybe it gets ripped off by Penguin.
Something. I don't know. Yeah. I was trying to think of scenarios for like why it wouldn't be there, and like, it's just going to be like, yeah, it's going to be these weird, like, what if this happened to it, or da-da-da-da-da.
Very interesting. Yeah, yep. No cape.
All right, well, while we're pondering the no cape, I got a weird one for you, Matt.
Yes, let's hear it.
I thought this was pretty funny. This came from my coworker Lauren. She sent me a little link earlier in the week, and she's like, check this out. So this actually is happening today when we record, February 24th, but KFC has launched a new fried chicken sandwich.
Okay.
And what is it using for buns, you may ask?
Biscuits, of course.
No.
Oh, gosh.
No, nowhere even close. Donuts. Glazed sugar donuts. It literally looks like it's a spicy chicken breaded breast in between two Krispy Kreme donuts.
Oh, no. Oh.
Yep.
Oh.
And so
no.
Apparently it's being released today for a limited time only. It's a chicken and donut sandwich, and I don't know what they're calling this. Maybe they're just calling it the chicken and donut sandwich. But,
Kentucky Fried Chicken and Donuts. That's what it looks like it's called.
I'm looking at a picture of it.
They also serve it on the side. They have donuts on the side of like a basket too.
Yeah.
What in the? Is this are they trying to play like a chicken and waffle situation?
I thought that at first too. Because chicken and waffles is actually really
that's fine.
Really good.
It tastes good.
But I'm like, this is a glazed donut. The part that works with the chicken and waffles is that if you're going to do a syrup, it's usually a maple syrup, like a
Yeah, I
traditional
agree.
kind of, syrup you'd use on pancakes or, waffles or whatever. But this is just like glaze, like seriously, like Super Friends, picture Krispy Kreme donuts, 2 of them with a breaded chicken breast in between them. Because that's literally what this thing is. Now, you got to remember though, KFC was the home of the Double Down, which they made a sandwich where instead of bread, they used 2 chicken patties. And then in the middle, they had like bacon and cheese and whatever else was in there. So this isn't the first time that KFC's done some sort of weird, random thing in order to, get some attention, get some people to come back to the old Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Oh my gosh.
So the question is, Matt, would you try this thing?
No,
Really?
I don't think I would. Here's the deal. I've had donuts in things that don't normally have donuts with them, and I do not like it. I've had a donut with like a sausage. It was like a maple bar with a sausage inside. And I was like, okay, this is a fun novelty, almost like a state fair type situation of a food. I'll try it. It was awful. And it was like $8. And I took like 2 bites and I was like, I literally cannot do this. So for me, it's a struggle when donuts approach something that I don't want them to approach. Like chicken.
Okay.
So I don't think that I would try this. I did look it up. 860 calories for the sandwich. So it's like a third of what you should be taking in every day. Which
it's more than a third.
like, be careful. If you're gonna eat it, skip breakfast and eat it at lunch, and then you might be okay. Not to mention the sugar you're gonna be taking in. But now that I only think about that because I'm like you and I'm trying to lose weight, so I'm like, good gosh, I don't know how I could make that work, but I don't want it to work. This is not for me.
Part of me wants to have a bite just to see how the flavor all works together.
Yeah.
But the idea of eating that whole thing just makes me sick to my stomach.
Yeah, it just feels
I'm not going to lie. Just like,
wrong.
Maybe.
Not my thing.
I don't know. I'm thinking like maybe if it was like a blueberry cake donut and it wasn't like I don't know. No. I'm just trying to think like other donuts that I really like. Ew, put it between 2 Boston creams. No.
Oh my gosh, 2 Boston creams. The thing is, it's not just a donut. It's a Krispy Kreme donut, which is a very specific type of donut. It's extra sugary, extra kind of melt in your mouthy. For me, I have to be in a certain mood to have a Krispy Kreme donut.
Actually, I think the only donut this would work with, a maple bar.
Yeah, that's probably true. That makes sense. See, that makes sense for this.
That makes a little more sense, right? Because of the maple syrup on a waffle. So like,
you can make it a play.
A maple bar with bacon on it would still even work here.
Yep.
But pretty much any, like a Boston cream, a jelly filled.
That's disgusting.
Just blah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, not my thing. Krispy Kreme's usually not my thing. I got to be in a certain mood for that kind of sugar, man. It's like, holy crap. It's so cheap too, though. But anyway.
All right. Go get you one of their... So listen, Super Friends. If one of you actually goes out and tries this thing, link us on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, and let us know how it was, what it was like. Because I'm just curious. I just want to hear a review from someone that has tried it. Part of me wants to taste it just for the sake of saying I tasted it, but I'm not going to actually eat the thing. So if someone tries it, let me know, let Matt know. We want to hear from you.
Yes, we do. Speaking of hearing from somebody more.
Okay.
Moving on to the next thing. Priya Ferguson, who you will know as Erica Sinclair from Stranger Things, who is the little brother little sister.
Yes.
Excuse me. Little sister of,
Lucas?
Caleb McLaughlin is his name. Thank you.
Yeah,
Lucas from Stranger Things. So that little girl has been bumped from a recurring character in season 3 to a series regular character now for season 4. Which, no surprise, if you would have asked me if she was a regular character in season 3, I would have said, of course, because she's in the whole freaking thing. I mean, she's part of the gang.
It's true.
So we can expect more of her. And I remember in our season 3, when we talked about this, when season 3 came out back in July, that I remember us talking about how much I don't really love her character. She's a little too extra for me. A little too much. So I'm hoping that because she's getting older in real life, you know, and it makes sense to mature her character a little more, that we see the same sass, but maybe a matured version of that.
Or just a little less of it, because I think her sass is perfect, spot on, but I did feel like in the last season, they just ramped it up so like every scene, like everything she says was nothing but sassy, and it's like, that's not real life. That's not real people. I know some very sassy people, but they have moments and times when they're not kind of on that, you know, like that, so.
Yep.
Huh.
Yep.
Okay. Well,
So
good.
she's back.
Good for her.
I say, of course it is. It's good. And it's good to have some age differences in the cast too. Get the old kids, the core kids, and now we've got this younger generation joining up as well. So we'll see.
Good experience for her as an actress. I mean,
oh yeah,
being on a hit show and getting a bigger, more prominent role, you know, only going to help her down the road in her career.
Yep. Agreed.
All right, so I got some cool news for some of you super friends out there. It really bums me out, but The Witcher 3 just got an update. Basically what this update, it does basically two things. One, it allows you to transfer your Witcher PC save to your Nintendo Switch and vice versa. So if you own The Witcher 3 on Switch, and you played it on PC, and let's say you went through the whole game, but yet you never did the Heart of Stone or the Blood and Wine expansion, and you're taking a big trip, and you want to play it mobily, you could buy it on the Switch, you could transfer it over and just pick up where you left off. So
Very
that's
cool.
one. Way kind of cool. The second thing is they added a graphical option where you can switch this little switch, and it makes it much, much sharper. And over the weekend, when I was with my brother, he was showing me the difference. Man, I just remembered I totally forgot to talk about something. I'll swing back to it here in a second. When I was with my brother, though, he showed me the switch, and he showed me the difference, and he toggled between some photos he took, one in regular mode, and then the same exact shot, but in the enhanced mode. And it makes a huge difference on the handheld.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big, big, big difference. So, anyway, what I forgot to talk about, because I'm just so, like, focused in on, like, what my body's trying to do, how it's trying to kill me, is over the weekend, my buddy Gabe Patello from Married to the Games was in town with Toby Mac on tour, and he came into town, and my brother and I got to go and hang out with him for part of the day, and then we got to go to the Toby Mac concert in the evening, and then we actually were backstage kind of during the concert, and Toby Mac popped out to try to start working his way up towards the stage to get ready, and he came over and started kind of just talking with me and my brother and with Gabe, and was kind of, you know, harassing us and just kind of, you know, goofing around a little bit with us, which was nice to see, because I know personally he's gone through some tragedy. 4 months ago, he lost his son, his 21-year-old son. And I was talking with Gabe earlier in the day, and we were just kind of talking about how usually Toby does meet and greets before the show. But on this tour, they've kind of canceled that, because obviously when someone loses someone, and I understand this because I've lost my father, people want to talk to you about it, but they don't really know what to say.
Sense. Yep.
And from a performer standpoint, I could see how he doesn't want to maybe go through a meet and greet an hour and a half, 2 hours before he's going to take the stage, and everyone wants to talk to him about, you know, holding strong, keeping his head up, you know, this isn't the end, you know, all the things that, like, I'm sure he knows and he feels and he believes, but still it's going to be constant brought up. So it was kind of cool just to see Toby come over and start teasing us and harassing us a little bit, because I was wearing a Mario Brothers t-shirt, and he's like, oh man, don't do that. He's like, you're going to give Gabe a big head, you know, and he's like, you know, this, that, and the other. And we were laughing. I was like, well, hey, man, I really appreciate you guys coming to town and appreciate you bringing Gabe along so we get a chance to hang out with him. And he's like, hey, man, he's like, I wouldn't be here if it's not for Gabe. If Gabe stops doing this, I stop doing this. And, it was just kind of, having like a real fun interaction. And I was just like, it was real cool because I know what he's going through in a way. Mine was different. I lost my father. He lost his son. But I know some of that pain. And so it was just kind of cool to see him have an interaction where it probably wasn't being brought up and it wasn't that thing.
Right.
But of course, then he said to us, he's like, where are you guys at? He's like, what kind of seats did Gabe get you? And I was like, we're stage left. We're on the floor, 10 rows back. And he goes, okay, good. We got you some good seats. He's like, we'll throw water at you. We'll make sure we get you wet. And in one of the songs, at one point, they open up bottles of water and they start spraying the crowd that's right down on the floor. And true to his word, when Toby was over there, he started throwing water in our general direction. Then, of course, my buddy Gabe, as he's coming down, because they kind of got this stage and they got this like long plank that goes to kind of like this like second stage that's closer in toward the middle of the audience. But as Gabe's walking down, he gets to the point where he's got a water bottle and he's taking the top off it. Like, he looks right over at his shoulder, kind of over at us, and just gives us the eye, like, what's about to happen. And of course, my brother and I just started laughing because we knew. And he just like doused us with the whole freaking bottle of water. And it was a lot of fun. We loved it. But anyway,
Nice.
that was like a crazy, amazing show. It was a lot of fun. We got to hang out with our buddy. We got to actually hang out with some of the other guys that are on the road with Toby Mac that are part of the road crew. So we got to hang out with Neebs, and we got to hang out with Gonzo and with Beefmaster Serta. And so we got to see those guys, some guys we kind of know. I can't believe I like totally almost spaced that, but I was thinking about that because my brother Josh was showing me and Gabe the stuff on the Switch version of The Witcher 3.
Yeah.
And so it made me think of that. But I gotta say, I'm a little bummed I don't have The Witcher 3 on the Switch right now.
Yeah.
Because I'm taking this big trip, and I'm gonna have like a 6-hour flight from LA to Hawaii, and then back from Hawaii to LA. And Breed and I probably aren't gonna be sitting next to each other because we got the cheaper flights, so we don't get to pick our seats. Which means I could play another 12-ish hours of this game. But I have it on PS4, and I'm not gonna go rebuy it and start the game all over again.
Sure. Yeah.
So. But if they would have had the save from the PS4 to go there, or even if I could have gone from the PS4 and moved my save over to a PC, and then from PC and done like a double hop to get it to the Switch,
Right.
I probably would have rebought the game.
Yeah.
Just because I'm loving it and I want to continue on. Anyway, long way to get back around to The Witcher 3, but The Witcher 3 had a new update. Congratulations, it's awesome. Go check it out, Super Friends. And go check out Gabe Patillo on the Married to the Games podcast. Check out Toby Mac on tour with the Hits Deep right now, coming to a city near you.
Do it.
Do it. You won't regret it, I promise. It's a great show. It's a lot of fun.
All right, so moving on.
Yes.
Everyone's going to be stoked about this, especially Spencer. So my last little bit of information is, remember months ago when I brought up in Rebel Intelligence that there may be a Friends reunion.
Oh, I remember vaguely, somewhat.
I have talked about this before, at least once, maybe twice.
Yeah.
That there may be a Friends reunion, and it is now confirmed that is actually happening.
Really?
Very surprising. I didn't actually expect this to ever happen, but it's happening, and it's going to air on HBO Max because they're getting Friends. Like, famously, they're getting Friends. And
right, it's leaving Netflix, it's going to HBO.
So, and it's everybody. So it's Jennifer Aniston, Courtney Cox, Lisa Kudrow, Matthew LeBlanc, Matthew Perry, and David Schwimmer.
What about
Unfortunately,
the monkey?
Schwimmer. Who? What?
What about the monkey, Marcel?
Well, Marcel is busy in Hollywood. Still making movies, man.
He is the biggest star right now of that whole group. That's
oh
true.
yeah. Oh yeah. He's a big deal. So, from what I understand about what this is it is going to be kind of an unscripted special more than it is going to be kind of the old school Friends. It's going to be taped in the same like sets from what I understand. Again, I don't have all the information yet. I don't think anybody knows exactly what it is. They're kind of still on the super early stages-ish. They've all signed on, but from what it is, it's just going to be unscripted. So
I thought I heard somewhere, and maybe it's just a rumor, that it's not going to be like an actual episode, but
right.
it's gonna be more of like just a, hey, we're gonna sit back and reminisce, or maybe
like
answer
a
some
reunion
questions
of sorts.
Yeah, more
like
of that
a panel that you would see at Comic-Con or something.
right?
And
maybe not
episode.
necessarily the actors and actresses in their character, but just
yes, correct. Yeah,
as the
exactly.
actors and actresses.
Yep. But pretty cool. Pretty cool for those that are fans of Friends, and be interesting to see. Every once in a while, you'll see some of these characters pop up in something else you're watching. For example, The Good Place, where you'll see a character from Friends pop up, and it's kind of fun to see how they look now.
Oh, side note, like I don't know, squirrel. In the Good Place, when the judge comes out and she's wearing an East Dillon's Lions t-shirt. Finally, when we got to the part in the 4th season when they're in East Dillon, I was like, she was wearing an East Dillon Lions t-shirt. And Brita went, oh, that makes more sense. And I was like, yes. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right, I got one last thing for you, Matt.
Let's hear it.
So we've had a lot of conversations lately about the state of the Star Wars movies.
Yes.
First, it was all the hype and the build-up for Rise of Skywalker. We were both kind of let down by that. Then it was the D.B. Weiss and Damon Benioff were let go from doing, or walked away, whatever, from doing a trilogy of Star Wars movies. Then we heard from Kathleen Kennedy that we may be putting some Star Wars movies on hold and just focusing on Disney Plus. Then we get news that now we're going to be getting a Star Wars movie that's supposed to be set like about 500 years prior to the start of the whole Skywalker saga. And now we're hearing that J.D. Dillard, the director of the movie Slight and Sweetheart, is going to be teaming up with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Luke Cage writer Matt Owens to develop a Star Wars movie. Hollywood Reporter broke this news. We don't know if this is going to be a theatrical release movie or if this is going to be Disney Plus. We don't know if Dillard's going to direct it, but we know that according to this report from the Hollywood Reporter, that J.D. Dillard and Matt Owens are teaming up to develop this movie.
Interesting.
So the other interesting thing I thought about this too is that Dillard actually has worked on some Star Wars stuff before. He was one of J.J. Abrams' assistants during The Force Awakens, and also was a stormtrooper in The Rise of Skywalker.
Oh.
So he's not like he's completely unfamiliar with Star Wars, but it's kind of one of those things like, well, maybe he's writing something, maybe he's, kind of coming up with this, and maybe he's not going to direct it, maybe he's just kind of taking a take on it. But anyway, so now it feels like this revolving door of, we're doing this, we're not doing this, where this is our direction, no it's not, kind of still seems to be going on between Lucasfilm and Disney.
Yeah, I don't know what to believe or what to trust.
Yep.
I don't know who either of these individuals are. I've never seen Sweetheart or Slight, so I have absolutely no idea, which to me is kind of good. I would rather this person be somebody fresh, like that's never done a big one, and get an opportunity to make a name for himself. I think that's cool. I'm okay with that. I'm good with that, actually. I like that. Better than... here's the deal. I was not super stoked when the Game of Thrones showrunners were going to be doing a Star Wars thing. I was like, no. Not that I don't like it. I never even seen Game of Thrones, but I want someone, I don't know, different. If it's not going to be the big ones that we all want it to be.
Sure.
So I don't know. I'm okay. I have no sadness toward this because I just don't know who they are. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, it's one of these things where I don't know what to think, but gonna give it some time. I mean, obviously, it's gonna be a while down the road before anything comes to fruition on this, if it does.
Right.
So,
And we don't know what this project is.
Nope.
We don't know if it's Disney Plus. I mean, Bob Iger keeps saying the future of Star Wars is on Disney Plus, and so I mean, I don't know what any of it means.
yeah, me neither.
I just don't know. So, thank you, Disney, for not giving Star Wars fans anything right now. We appreciate it. We love guessing. We love when Kathleen Kennedy and Bob, you guys completely contradict each other within 6 hours. It's like my favorite thing. I love it.
The back
so keep
and forth.
doing it. Keep doing it.
All right, well, that was the last thing I had in Rebel Intelligence. Did you have anything else?
I'm out.
All right, then let's get to our favorite part of the podcast. So last week we asked a question as we were talking about, this idea of the increasing prices for the consoles and where's that price point going to be,
Yes.
and some of the factors that are going into the shortage of parts. Now there's this other thing that's actually kind of coming into play. The coronavirus is actually going to start affecting this as well, because the ability not only to get parts from these two competing companies, but actually a labor force to do this and start working on this could be an issue. So, but we asked the Super Friends, what is the price point for you? Like, are you planning on buying them around the holiday season, and like, is there a price point you won't go over? And we
Right.
got some answers.
Okay.
So, Matt, we're going to start over at email like we always do with Peter Christensen. He says, "Dear nerds, I'm writing this as I'm putting off packing to leave Hawaii. It was an incredible trip, and everyone in my family is asking if we can extend our stay and when we can come back. We did lots of adventurous stuff, but the best was just going to the beach in the morning, setting up an umbrella and chairs, and then swimming, building sandcastles, and snorkeling until lunch. The absolute highlight was swimming with sea turtles, just 100 yards off the shore. The forecast in Seattle looks rough to come home to." Says, "Spencer, the audio is back to the Fortress standards." And I'm glad to hear that. Of course,
Good.
I feel a little congested this week, so I think I'm going to sound weird this upcoming week.
I'm going to sound
but-
echoey because I'm in the kitchen. So I apologize
Yeah,
if I
it's okay.
sound echoey this week.
Peter goes on and says, "I consider it a friendship deal breaker if someone doesn't consider diarrhea urgency stories hilarious. By that standard, we're definitely friends." It says, "All credit due to Sonic Movie for writing the ship, but part of the box office success has to be due to the fact that there hasn't been a good new release to theaters in forever. The people are hungry." Which, we didn't actually talk about this, but Sonic the Hedgehog won the #1 slot again this weekend.
Yeah, it did it again.
I want to say it made like another 25 million-ish this weekend. So I think we're going to see this movie probably break the $100 million threshold domestically, which I think still seems kind of crazy. But
yeah, it did 26.4.
There
It
you go.
obviously beat Birds of Prey because nobody saw that. That made 7 million
Right.
this week. Oh, what a bust. And it beat Call of the Wild, which is a little surprising because it's Harrison Ford. I mean, you beat Harrison Ford and you're an animated hedgehog? That's pretty good.
yeah. Peter goes on to say, "I also think bidding 6 or 7 figures for nerd historical artifacts is silly, but consider that Facebook bought Oculus for $2 billion, and the stock has risen since then. So $400K to Palmer Luckey is like a nice dinner to us." For the last week's question, I agree that Spider-Man Homecoming Vulture reveal was a rare time that I gasped in movie theater. This one isn't really a twist, but I still tear up in Rogue One when Gold Leader makes his 2 little cameos, which that is kind of a cool thing. I'm obviously not buying a new game console. The last one I owned was a Wii. But it's funny to hear you guys say that Sony and Microsoft are missing the market by selling a new console for $500 every 7 years. Apple and Samsung now have flagship phones for over $1,000, have new versions every year, and sell millions, nay, tens of millions every single year. Maybe you guys know, have overseas consoles sales overcompensated for people in the US that can't swing the new consoles at higher prices? Cheers, Peter Christensen. So, Peter brings up a good kind of like counterpoint, and this was something that I think you and I kind of discussed, is that yes, people do pay for these $1,000 phones that they are gonna, keep in their pocket and walk around with. And so the idea of like spending $500 on a console kind of seems crazy.
Yeah.
But it's also like different too, because I think in a way, because we view it differently, right? Whereas people, I think, now view the cell phone as it's a must-have.
Yes. Right.
It's, for me, I use it for my work every single day. So like it's how I interact with a lot of my work environment. It's how I interact with a lot of the podcast environment. It's how I interact with friends, social media, this, that. Like, there's never a day that goes by where I'm not on it a good chunk of the day.
Yeah.
But the idea of a game console is primarily used for like watching movies, streaming stuff, or playing games. So it's seen as more of a leisure activity in my mind. And so I think people aren't as willing to spend something that they consider a frivolity, a leisure activity, versus something that they would say is like part of like my need to get through the day.
I agree.
Also, this upcoming generation is only the 9th console generation. So if you go back, like, you remember like the Nintendo Entertainment System, I remember buying for $100 at one point when it was still like being sold brand new. And so like we've gone from like $100 and over the years worked our way up to like $500-600. And in the last generation, when the console hit $600 and they were even selling those PS3s at a financial loss, that was too much for gamers. Gamers didn't want to go spend $600 on that console.
Yeah.
And so they decided to stay home and take their money over to Xbox and buy a console for $400 because ideally, it plays a lot of the same games, except for obviously exclusives. So I think there is kind of this kind of like unspoken, agreement between some of these bigger companies that they kind of look at and say, okay, here's kind of where the price point range is, and we don't want to go higher because if we go too high, our competitor's going to underslash us and they're going to outsell us like crazy. And so it's kind of this big game of cat and mouse between the two companies, or three companies too with Nintendo.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I think we talked about this whole thing last week, so I'm interested to hear what everybody else thinks, because I'm with you. There's a big difference to me between buying a phone and buying a console, and I typically buy every other year, whatever Apple's flagship phone is. I mean, like you said, it's the lifeblood of my company and how I interact with everyone.
Yep. So we'll see. Thanks for writing in, Peter. Sorry that you had to leave Hawaii. We will touch base later. I'll probably actually reach out to you directly so we can talk about it, because I would love to hear how your experience in Maui went, and then I can later tell you about how Kauai went, and we can kind of compare some notes to make some future planning for other trips that my wife and I said we're probably already planning to take later. So let's go over to Facebook. Facebook.com/ForwardOfNerd. We've got Daniel Walker. He says, nope, I'll stick with my old faithful retro consoles. Thanks. So not even gonna go buy it. He's gonna stick with what he's got. In all honesty, Dan Walker is a coworker of mine. He's got some really cool things where he's built pinball cabinets that actually have like working paddles and this and that, but like the displays are all LED screens.
Nice.
And so I've
cool.
seen some pictures of it. It's like way cool stuff. And so I think he's pretty big into doing that kind of stuff, doing some of the the emulation stuff. And I mean, I can't blame you too, because you can do that for, a cheaper price and get a lot of games.
Right.
So appreciate the answer there, Dan. You stick with your retro consoles. No sweat there. Going over to Twitter @ForwardOfNerd. We've got Bernabe, my back, butter teeth @Dantes_Belmont. He says, I'm planning on waiting for a collector's edition. I'm hoping for no more than a $500 price tag. I'll be getting the PS5 first, then maybe a mid-refresh Xbox. Because it's true, like, we know that's going to happen. Like, Xbox Series X will come out, and then probably 2 years later, maybe 2.5 years later, they'll come out with a refresh. It'll be a smaller, slimmer design.
Yep.
It'll drop the price some. It'll fix some of the problems that the one at launch had, and the price tag will be lower. So I like that, Bernabe. Gonna get that PS5 as long as it's a collector's edition and it's under the $500 price tag, and then a refresh, mid-refresh on the Xbox. That's good. I like that. Hollywood Bones at Nova Beyond says, 100% I'm buying a PS5 day one. I'll spend $500 on it. If the cost is higher, then I'll have to have a discussion with my wife to plead my case. I'll be waiting on the Xbox Series X and probably get that in early 2021 when the tax break money return comes in.
Okay.
It's not a bad idea.
I don't know. I like it. Got a plan.
Yeah. Which, I mean, think about early 2021. I mean, if they come out in holiday season, so say maybe like October, November.
Yeah.
If he gets a PS5 day one, he maybe only has to wait like 5 months to like maybe February to get that old tax return money, and then can go get it. It's not bad.
Yeah.
BS at BravesB_ says, gonna have to wait to hear more about them. Probably one or the other, but definitely lean towards Microsoft as that's my preferred console today. And I don't think I would go $1 over $500.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
They better be careful.
Bernabe, Patrick Novosel, Hollywood Bones, Brian, Braves B are all kind of saying that like that $500 mark. You're hearing it from some gamers that's kind of that golden rule. That's kind of my mark on it as well.
Yeah.
Is that it's kind of $500. Like if it gets much more above that, it's like, well, you know,
I can wait
and get a bit of a discount. So
right.
We also have a voicemail from Paul Calicote, and let's give that a listen.
What's up, Spencer and Matt? Hello, everybody else hanging in the fort. This is Paul Calico coming at you for the question of the week. I will not be buying a PlayStation 5 anytime soon. I'm still working the PlayStation 4 Pro. Xbox, I gave up on Xbox a long time ago. Matt, thank you for showing your Texas colors. When you said to get a glass of chocolate milk and you mentioned the Promised Land, I was like, heck yeah. Promised Land milk is the best. Also, Matt, I would like to know, do you mix your beaver nuggets, your Bucky nuggets? I put the spicy ones in with the caramel popcorn ones. Really good. Anyway, guys, I love what y'all are doing. Keep up the good work. This is Elf Time.
Okay, what are caramel or caramel Bucky nuggets? Like okay,
beaver nuggets, man.
Yeah, the beaver nuggets. Okay, so like I'll get back to this, but like he said, I mixed the spicy with the caramel.
Yeah.
Ones.
Yeah.
Aren't these just like chicken nuggets that you're calling beaver nuggets?
No. Think. Okay, I don't know what to tell you to think. Okay, you know, packing peanuts, obviously.
Oh.
Imagine delicious flavored packing peanuts. It's not popcorn. Don't think popcorn.
Okay.
You're thinking way too much texture if you're thinking popcorn, too much of that. It's like a candy-coated puff. I mean, I don't know.
So,
or
okay.
like a you know, like the Cheetos Puffs?
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you. Is it kind of like a Cheetos Puff, but instead of like the cheese?
Only kind of, though. Only kind of. It is an experience. It's hard to explain it.
Okay.
I think I actually have some in the cupboard up there. But yes, okay, so I've had the spicy and I've had the caramel. I've never mixed them. Paul, that is an interesting idea that I'll have to try next time I drive by Buc-ee's. But I'm glad you appreciated the Promised Land shout out, because there is not a better chocolate milk. There is not a better chocolate milk. It's so good, you guys.
So Matt, your mission before we record next is to mix the spicy and the caramel.
Oh boy,
Bucky
I gotta
nuggets.
drive to Buc-ee's. That's 45 minutes away.
And then if it's good, we need to name this the Calicote mix.
Okay.
We'll
Hey,
name it
it's
after
gonna
Paul.
be good. How could it not?
I got to tell you this, and this is going to sound ridiculous, but I've wanted to come to Texas to visit for a while because I always hear like, oh, you got to go to Austin, you got to go here, like you would really love it in this part of Texas or this part of Texas. And I've driven through the panhandle of Texas once about 20 years ago, and I hated it. So I've wanted to go to Texas and visit some things and do some things. And then now that you guys are there, it's like, oh, well, Matt's here, we can go hang out. But is it weird that now you guys everyone's talking up this Buc-ee's, and I want to go to this like oversized mega gas station extravaganza more than I actually want to like come visit family?
No, that's not bad at all. You are right. That is the correct tiering of reasons to go to Texas.
Oh, man.
It's like barbecue and Buc-ee's, and then you're like, family is cool, question mark. Like, there's, it's, you know, we live in San Antonio, and it's kind of the entertainment or the resort type area of Texas, where we've got SeaWorld, and we got a new Legoland thing. We got Six Flags, we got the Alamo, we got Schlitterbahn, the massive water park. So there are lots of reasons. I'm going to be an infomercial for Texas.
Okay.
The rest of, well, I mean, I always am. I feel like anytime Texas is brought up, I try to explain to people how
Texas forever, Matt.
it is. And it is like that, which is why I loved Friday Night Lights so much. And whenever I was in Utah and I was in school, I would watch Friday Night Lights when I was homesick because it reminded me so much of Tomball, Texas, where I grew up. The people, it's fantastic. Okay, anyway, thanks, Paul. That was a fantastic message. I appreciated it.
Thank you, Paul.
I'm glad somebody listens to the things that I say and enjoys Buc-ee's and Promised Land chocolate milk.
Nice. All right, Matt. Our super friends are out there. They're listening. They're paying attention. As we know, we just heard from Paul Calico.
Yes.
How can the super friends help us this week?
Okay, this week, I'm going to include myself in this. Let's just send our thoughts to somebody's gut out there in the world. Let's send our thoughts to Spencer's gut. That it'll work itself out, that there will be no extreme emergencies in the oceans of Hawaii. Let's just send our thoughts over there.
I appreciate that. Oh, Hawaii's this wonderful place, but the water's got polluted recently, and we don't know what's going on.
It's like an oil slick out there, man. I don't know. Good grief.
Oh.
And there's this white bald guy out there. I don't know.
It's really weird. I think I saw him eating one of those donut chicken sandwiches while he was floating out there.
Hey, if they've got KFC out in Hawaii, there's no reason not to try it.
Part of me thinks that this was probably invented by someone in Hawaii to begin with, and then it got to the mainland, and they're over there thinking like, yeah, we've had this forever.
Hey, why not? It could be. Anyway,
maybe.
And of course, do your usual. Listen, like, enjoy, comment, call us, which we love. Do whatever you need to do, and send your thoughts and prayers over to the old gastrointestinal system.
Oh, Matt, that's just too funny. Okay, so Matt, we were talking ahead of time, and there was a news item, a Rebel Intelligence item that we didn't kind of cover, that we thought we kind of talk about, and then kind of have a greater conversation about this thing. So, how about this? How about you kick us off with the news article?
Okay, so here's what we've got. One of my favorite companies, the Jim Henson Company.
Oh, yeah.
Is making an Office, like the TV show, Office meets Harry Potter fantasy comedy with Christoph Waltz.
Which is a weird idea.
What in the world? So this mash, I guess, of things is coming together. So here's the little description, okay? A rudderless young man begins to suspect something's a little off about the London firm where he just landed an entry-level gig. For instance, one of the middle managers is secretly a shape-shifting goblin. That's the setup for the movie going to be called The Portable Door, a book series set to a movie set to become a movie with some very cool talent behind it, meaning Jim Henson Company.
Sure.
And it kind of talks that this is supposed to be, it's kind of a satirical fantasy novel book series. I've never heard of it, but Tom Holt is the writer of these novels. So that's really all we know. Obviously, if you've read the book, you know a whole lot more than we do about kind of what this is. But The Office meets Harry Potter with Christoph Waltz and the Jim Henson Company co-producing this. Okay.
So when I first heard this and I kind of like peeked at this, I actually thought this was going to be like starring like the main Muppets, like Kermit and Miss Piggy and Fozzie. Because I remember, I think a couple years ago, they tried to do kind of an Office style show with the main Muppet characters that was on ABC. But I think it was
one season and died because it wasn't good.
Right. Yeah. It didn't have longevity.
Yep.
And so at first when I read this, I went, oh, this is this. But they're just kind of retooling it and they're going to do this. But it actually seems like it's more the company, the Jim Henson Company, but they're not necessarily using Muppets.
Yes, not necessarily.
At least right now, we're not hearing that they're using Muppets.
Right. I think that you can expect some type of practical effects, like cool, unique practical effects in this movie series.
Right.
That would be my expectation. Anytime the Jim Henson Company puts their name on something, it's unique. It's different, and there's typically some puppetry or some cool effects that are added that enhance or surprise the movie-going experience.
Right.
And to your point, so I did some research because I think what we kind of want to talk about is the Jim Henson Company in general, talking about the Muppets, puppetry, etc. So I did a little bit of research because I thought the same thing. I was like, okay, let's look into what the Jim Henson Company has produced.
Okay.
And in 2004, that's when Disney purchased the Muppets from the Jim Henson Company. So you would not see the Jim Henson Company working with the Muppets anymore. So like the Muppets, the movie, The Muppets that came out with Jason Segel.
Yeah, yeah.
And then Muppets Most Wanted, that was Disney.
Yeah,
so
Muppets,
that is not technically
Studios,
under the Jim Henson Company, which I kind of knew, but didn't fully understand.
Right.
I thought that they were involved, but they're not. Like their name is not attached to those films. So they're still doing, obviously, things, lots of things, very interesting kind of things. What was that movie, that R-rated Muppet movie that did horribly? Happy Time Murders.
Oh,
with Melissa McCarthy, I think.
Yeah.
They did that, which obviously Disney would never have a hand in something like that. But it's very interesting separating. You've got the Jim Henson Company, then you've got Disney buying it and Muppet Studios. And Disney and the Muppets have always kind of, I don't want to say this, been in bed together, but they kind of always have with old TV shows like Muppet Babies back in, I think, the 80s and 90s, the animated show, and then Muppet Vision 3D at the Disney parks, which I remember going to as a kid. And enjoying. So it's always been kind of synonymous to me, Disney and the Muppets. But the Jim Henson Company, it's different, right? I mean, I admire the Jim Henson Company. I admire the Muppets, and I thought that we could talk about the Muppets in general, the actual property of the Muppets, and then also. Because I really like Jim Henson Company, I may pepper in a little bit of other things that Jim Henson Company has done that's really, really cool or interesting or innovative in some way.
So I've got a little bit of history on just in general the Muppets. Mm-hmm. So Jim Henson, he formed the Jim Henson Company, and he got into puppetry and these puppets that he ended up calling Muppets, and they made their first debut in 1955 in this kind of short form television series that he created called Sam and Friends. And this was taped and aired twice daily on like a local Washington D.C. TV station in black and white, and then later it went on to be color, and it ran for 6 years, from 1955 to 1961. And then kind of following that, there was some appearances on late night talk shows and in some advertising during the 1960s. And then in 1969, the Muppets made their first debut on Sesame Street, which Sesame Street is huge, right? I mean, this was,
of course,
on PBS, and it had its own puppets and whatnot, and it kind of had its own branch. Now, Sesame Street, I believe, either at one point was either owned by the Jim Henson Company, or it worked closely with it, because you would see crossover characters, right? Like you'd see, Kermit the Frog would end up on a Sesame Street, and he would be there with Big Bird and Snuffleupagus and Oscar the Grouch, right? But shortly after they started making appearances on Sesame Street, the Muppets kind of started getting this like celebrity status and international recognition. And then in 1976, the Muppet Show debuted. And the Muppet Show it was a primetime show. It was a comedy television series that was created, scripted by Jim Henson with the Muppets, and it would feature an actor, an actress, a musician, someone who's popular of the day. So think back to like Saturday Night Live, right? Saturday Night Live debuts in 1975, and it's this comedy variety show, right? The sketch comedy.
Yeah.
But it would have like one big actor or host that would appear in a lot of the sketches. It was kind of the same thing for the Muppet Show, except it did this with puppets basically, and not live actors and actresses. And it ran from 1976 to 1981. It received 4 Primetime Emmy wins, 21 nominations during its 5-year run. And then during the 70s and 80s, we started getting movies. So the first movie in 1979 was the Muppet movie, which is one of my favorite Muppet movies and has the best soundtrack, I think, of any Muppet movie. Although some later entries have
some good ones, man.
Some great music. But just for me, like, that holds a place. It came out the exact same year I was born. Great Muppet Caper, Muppets Take Manhattan, and then you start getting the Disney Company kind of getting involved with, with Jim Henson and the Jim Henson Company, and you get later down the road you get the Muppets Christmas Carol, Muppet Treasure Island, Muppets from Space, and then eventually you get in 2011 the Muppets, and then Muppets Most Wanted in 2014. You had the Muppet Babies, it had all the television stuff, like there was the Jim Henson Hour, back in the late 80s. So like lots of stuff. Of course, Jim Henson himself, I want to say died in like 1990. And so from the time he passed in 1990 through kind of the, all the 90s and into the 2000s when the company sold the Muppets over to Disney, and they were purchased in Muppet Studios and all that. The Jim Henson Company continued on, right? His wife was a major factor. The company puppeteers that had been with the Jim Henson Company and the Creature Shop and the Foundation, all these things that kind of like sprung out of this, were still heavily involved.
Yeah.
But the Muppets weren't the only creation of the Jim Henson Company. So you had Fraggle Rock, which ran from 83 to 87, which very much feels like Muppets. I mean, it looks very much like Muppets. You've got the Dark Crystal in 1982, which those don't feel like the traditional, when I think of Muppets, the Dark Crystal's not it. But they...
No.
You're right, not at all. But they did do a lot of like really cool, like, this kind of comes more out of like the Creature Shop, like where they kind of come up with stuff, right?
Yeah.
Labyrinth, all the puppets and whatnot that was in Labyrinth also came out of the Jim Henson Company. And then, like you said, what was the most recent movie that
that weird Happy Time Murders, that one?
Right, Happy Time Murders, and Sesame Street, and like all these other things that the Jim Henson Company was kind of involved in.
Yes, it's really interesting. When you think of puppets, it's probably the Jim Henson Company that was involved. Frank Oz, who's, famously a puppeteer for Yoda, he directed a Muppet movie, actually. So it's kind of interesting to see these people in the same profession kind of jumping around. And It's pretty fun. One of the things that surprised me that I didn't realize that the Jim Henson Company did was, do you remember the TV show Dinosaurs?
Oh, yeah, of course.
That's the Jim Henson Company.
Of course. I mean,
of course it is.
Yeah, of course.
When you think about it, you're like, well, duh. Who else can pull off puppetry like that? It's the Jim Henson Company. I mean, there's no one else who does it like them. So some of my most fond memories as a child, actually, I mean, honestly, some of my top ever film and movie experiences and TV show experiences involved the Jim Henson Company from when I was a child. I mean, I know I've gushed about the Dark Crystal and the new Netflix series,
right.
Age of Resistance before, but man, if you have not experienced the world of Thra yet, do yourself a favor and immerse yourself in it. You'll be very impressed with what, puppetry can do. It's so much fun for me to be lost in that. But if it started with the Muppets, I mean, it's always going to hold a special place in my heart.
Yeah, I think for me, because obviously I was born in 1979, and I was a young kid in the early 80s, and the Muppets were still kind of riding really, really high. Because by time you start getting into the 90s and the early 2000s, that's kind of a dark period for the Muppets.
They died in the 2000s.
Yeah, there was really
There's
nothing in the first decade of the new century there. There just wasn't anything.
Yep.
So it was sad because there's a whole generation of kids that didn't have any Muppets. But for me, it was the TV show was just winding down when I was about 2 years old, the Muppet Show. But that was on in syndication, and so I could see it. And, the movies and then of course, in the early 90s, the Muppet Babies, I watched the mess out of that TV show.
Yep.
So for me, when I think of the Muppets, it makes me think of my childhood. Now, I still love watching it, and I love watching my boys get into the Muppets. But what's interesting to me, and I'm going to ask you this question, Matt, is there a Muppet that you really identified with? Okay, see,
always.
And who was the Muppet you identified with?
Gonzo.
Gonzo, really?
Day
Why?
one, even to this day, because he was so weird. And that's how I thought of myself, and still think of myself to this day, is just weird, or I don't really care what anyone says or thinks about me. And that's kind of how I've been. As a child, I was weird and I didn't care. I mean, Gonzo has look, I don't want to get too weird here, but Gonzo's got a girlfriend chicken, okay?
Right.
The dude is weird. And I
Camilla.
loved it. Yeah. I mean, gosh, even that's weird. Anyway, so it was always for me, it was Gonzo. I just fell in love with him. I thought, man, this guy is weird. I love it. Everyone else, I love you too.
Right.
For different reasons. But for me, identifying, it was Gonzo. What about you?
See, part of me wants to say Kermit the Frog because I kind of do a really poor Kermit the Frog impersonation.
Prove it.
In a minute. So I'm also a little stuffed up, so I don't know how that's going to sound. But so I loved Kermit, but I really loved the friendship between Kermit and Fozzie. And so I kind of I don't know, there was aspects of both sides that and sometimes I felt like I identified more with Kermit, and sometimes I felt like I identified more with Fonzie. But then
Fonzie?
Fozzie, sorry. Fonzie.
I know what you meant.
Yeah.
The Fonzie.
Hey, waka waka.
I was going to say Fozzie for you.
Yeah, Fozzie. And so I think probably I relate more to Fozzie. Just the goofy, kind of always on, trying to make people laugh, center of attention sort of thing like that. I mean, that tracks with my personality pretty strongly. Yeah. But then again, I also love Dr. Teeth. The leader of the band, Dr. Teeth, and the Electric Mayhem.
Yeah, man, he's got a beautiful tooth.
Oh man,
Cha-ching.
just something. He's just wow. He's hey there, wow. It's okay, let's do this.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah, he's fantastic. That band is so fun. And for me, I liked obviously Kermit. I just thought Kermit was Kermit's boring. He's always doing the right stuff. That's not me.
Kermit
Animal.
the Frog here, sitting on my lily pad.
That's pretty good.
Piggy, I don't think we can do that. Anyway.
Hey, let's get some claps. This is, that's pretty good. But for me, I mean, Gonzo and Animal were the two that I would go through as to which one I felt that I identified more with. It's just like, I mean, that tracks for me, I think, is just wild and whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
do you have a favorite like Muppet property, like a movie or a TV show?
Man, this is right up my alley, everybody. So to me, it's not close. The best Muppet movie, and it's Muppet Treasure Island. It is, for me, the funniest Muppet movie that there is. It is hilarious. And that's why it's my favorite. I don't necessarily would say that it's like, I don't know. It has a bit of everything. It has like the comedy, obviously, but it's got the heart and it's got a good story. And do you remember for Christmas when we went, oh gosh, it must be 4 years ago now or something, where we showed movie clips of, like, we all picked 2 or 3 clips from movies and we went down into the basement and watched them?
I mean,
we did this,
and
it was your idea. You put them together.
I know.
I'm pretty sure.
I did the one where we did like the lip sync battle. I don't know that I did the one where we did the movie clips. I think I was there.
Maybe Reese did that.
Yeah, maybe.
Anyway, long story short, we did that, and one of the ones that I selected was a Muppet Treasure Island reference or a
little clip. Yeah.
Billy Bones. Oh man, you guys, it's so good. It's so good. So for me, Muppet Treasure Island is my favorite.
So for me, I have a real soft spot for the original Muppet movie. Yeah. Because it's like what I've seen probably the most. I have it on DVD. I actually have the audio, the full audio from that album, from that movie. However, the 2011 release of the Muppets,
so good too. I
mean, the music, it's got the writing from Brett McKenzie, Flight of the Conchords. It's just that movie is funny. It has some reminiscent stuff to the original movie. It's a tough call for me between those two. I never thought I'd ever say the Muppet movie was going to be replaced by any other Muppet property.
Sure.
But the 2011 The Muppets, it's probably neck and neck. It's probably that close for me now. I legit love that movie. There's some really smart writing in that film. There's some really great things they do that helps it feel fresh and current. Like the whole idea that like Animal is in some kind of like commune for therapy to try to keep himself cool and zen, so he doesn't like freak out, is so like rooted in today's society, but also like it's just classic like Muppets and the humor there. And so yeah, that's a tough call for me.
And I appreciate what the Muppets did. It had been like 20 years since we'd had a Muppet movie. Yeah. And it was, I mean, I don't know if that's exactly correct. It had been more than a decade. There was nothing in the 2000s from the Muppets at all. So
the last one, Muppets in Space, was 1999. So it had been 12 years. Yeah.
It had been a long time. So, and I do like that it was almost like a soft reboot.
Yep.
Where they had to get everybody back together. Just, I mean, in the Muppets, I mean, there's, Muppets is scary, I think.
Oh.
The movie is scary. The frog legs guy, scary. Not interested.
I love that.
He's scary.
Hopper.
Yeah, man. Anyway, I just started showing Emmy that the other day, the Muppet movie, and I was like, this is scary. I don't like it.
You know, I thought about something else that I also really love, and like in the mid, I don't know, like around 2010, somewhere 2009, 2010, Disney started releasing, to try to reintroduce the Muppets kind of to the audience. They started releasing these like little like one-off, occasional little videos on the website.
Yeah.
And there was a YouTube of a Bohemian Rhapsody cover by the Muppets that still to this day I will watch and love. They also did some cooking stuff with the chef.
The Swedish chef.
Yeah. they did a few of these like little things, but by far, man, the Bohemian Rhapsody cover, that's a classic. Like, go watch that. It's just so freaking good.
You go through the Muppets, and there's something I love about every single thing that they have done. Every movie or TV show, there's something that I love. I mean, obviously the Muppet movie's great. The Great Muppet Caper I watched that so much as a kid. Let's Take Manhattan was probably my least favorite of the Muppet movies, but there's so many good things about that. And lest we forget the Muppet Christmas Carol.
Yep.
It's a staple in my house. Like I need to watch it every year.
Yeah.
It's such a fun way to enjoy a Christmas Carol. It's so fun. And I always loved it when I was a kid because Gonzo's like the main character. And so I always enjoyed that. Gonzo and Rizzo. Just so much. I don't know. I just appreciate what the Jim Henson Company has been able to do, how they've remained relevant in the world. Where I was reading a review for the new Dark Crystal series, Age of Resistance, and there was this popular YouTube reviewer who just was going on and on about how puppetry is dead, how this is a terrible series, and that Jim Henson Company is no longer relevant, and please stop making puppets. And I just went, how sad for you. When you watch that show, the achievements are incredible. It's just incredible. When I'm watching that, I'm not thinking the fact that I'm watching puppets. I'm so involved in the story because the Muppets are so much more than just they're funny puppets. Like you mentioned, it's written so well. And when you watch Age of Resistance, it's shot so well. There's so much that goes into it other than just putting a puppet in front of a real camera and real sets. It's how do we make this look big and grand? How do I make this massive? And the way that they can combine technology with puppetry and cinematography is just incredible. I'm always in awe of what the Jim Henson Company can do, and I get excited when they're attached to a project.
Well, the interesting thing too also is like that this company literally was a company that kind of sprung out with this idea of like using puppets, and they have these, puppeteers that they actually call them Muppeteers. And these people all had a desire to create safe, friendly entertainment for families, for children. Because like if you look at the Muppets, compare like the Jim Henson Company's Dark Crystal versus the Muppet movie. Two totally different things. Muppet movies are supposed to be, softer to look at, friendlier for kids to approach, versus like something from the Dark Crystal maybe is not approachable for a small kid. And so like I kind of have some interesting like talk about design. So like the majority of the Muppets are designed by hand. They're made as hand puppets, but then some of them use like rods. So like obviously like Kermit the Frog, you can see like a rod come in to to move his hand, because his hands, there's no room for like the Muppeteer to do that. But a lot of the themes in the Muppets are like wide mouths, kind of like large, larger eyes. Yeah. Muppets are like molded out of like foams. They're almost always covered with some sort of felt material, and they usually represent either humans, anthropomorphic characters, realistic animals, or robots. And then sometimes you start getting like some of like the extraterrestrial mythological creatures, right?
Yeah.
But it's interesting though, because they're not like typical, like a ventriloquist dummy, right? Where you're going to see the ventriloquist standing to the side of the dummy who's going to like make him talk. And you may see a rod that, works a hand. That the Muppeteers are usually like out of camera shot. They're underneath the stage. They use sometimes, they animate like the head and face. Sometimes, depending on the size of the Muppet, they're doing arms and body and mouth. It's kind of this whole different thing. And there's been some documentaries that have kind of shown like how the
How
Muppeteers
they do it.
actually do it. And I always
Yeah.
find that really, really interesting because with a ventriloquist, you see the person standing there. And so the mystery of that is not really there. Whereas like when you watch the Muppets, you don't think about the person that's underneath
Right.
and has got their hand up this Muppet to make Kermit talk. You just see Kermit, the character. And so it's kind of cool. And then obviously like later on in some of the movies, you can see that they use some like, fish string and whatnot to make some of the things happen when you actually have to see them walk, because usually you see them from like the waist up or
Waist
something.
up. Yeah. Yep.
So it's kind of a cool thing. It's kind of cool to think about all these people who've devoted their life to doing this, to providing wholesome entertainment for kids. But then the artistry that goes into designing these. And then of course on top of that, when they design this, like Jim Henson was the voice of Kermit the Frog, right? And so like for him, Kermit the Frog was like kind of an extension of his personality. He also did Ralph the dog. He did Ernie. He embodied those. Like those were like his. And so the Muppeteers like really do take on kind of that personality, that character of who they're portraying, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it's like acting. A lot of times for a lot of people, you become the character, and when you've been involved that long with the character and you've really embodied it. And I just, it's so unique and it's so cool and it's so fun. It's like the Jim Henson Company is right up there with, ILM and with the uniqueness of the things that they're able to do and how they're able to do it. It's just so cool.
Yeah.
It's just so incredibly cool. And if you think it's cool back in the 80s, 90s, early 2010s, watch Age of Resistance. I cannot express that enough. Okay. The things that they can do with the puppets, it's incredible. It's so fun. I love it.
The other thing too is like, that the Muppets were huge and popular because they popped up everywhere. I mean, award shows, talk shows, cameos in other movies, just like all sorts of things. Like, they were on the Cosby Show and they were on America's Funniest Home Videos and Larry King Live and, tournament, like the Rose Parade, right? Jerry Lewis telethons, like all these like shows and things and, that where they show up. They've even been like lampooned in things like The Simpsons and Family Guy and like,
right.
That if like other prominent like comedic art forms are lampooning you, you've made it. You're big enough that, you're a thing.
Yeah, I mean, they've been in the Game Awards the last 2 years too as presenters of awards. Yep. So, I mean, it's part of our culture, the Muppets. Specifically the Muppets.
Right.
And I just hope that Disney does something. They've been quiet with the Muppets for a while, and I hope that we get more Muppets. I know that we're getting something called Muppets Now on Disney Plus starting this year.
Right.
I'm hoping for another movie straight to Disney Plus for all I care, right? Like, give me another Muppet movie. That's exciting.
Yep.
So that's my hope as they continue to be relevant, that we continue to be able to talk about them, that they don't, go dormant for 12 years like they did in the 2000s.
All right. So Matt, before we move on, we're going to ask our question of the week. I'm just going to play a little inside baseball here and let our super friends know that we're going to have a real fast turnaround until when we actually record our next podcast. So I'm going to have to put out our question of the week ahead of time before the podcast releases. Otherwise, we won't get any answers and we'll just have to skip this. So I want to ask the super friends, who is your favorite Muppet and why? We'll make it real easy, real simple. It was a lot of fun kind of going through this and doing a little research with the Jim Henson Company and knowing that like we're going to get something from the Jim Henson Company again coming up, with this this, I don't know, crossover of The Office and Harry Potter with Christoph Waltz. I'm looking forward to seeing that, but I want to hear from the Super Friends. I'll get this out there. Let us know, Super Friends, who's your favorite Muppet and why. And we'll talk with you guys again real soon. It's a lot of fun.
Love it. I just saw they're making a Fraggle Rock movie, just FYI.
Of course they are.
Why not?
Exactly.
As we type, they just announced it. No, it's coming out. I mean,
breaking here. You heard it here first. Fortress of Nerditude.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's cool too.
All right, well, from all of us here at the Fortress of Nerditude to all of you out there, wherever you may be, remember, the light at the end of the tunnel may be you. And may the Force be with you, always.